What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Sirr from Phase 6. Here's another snippet from Chasing Greatness.
It's already changed. Wow.
Where do you think it's already changed?
Where do you see? Because I remember the conversation that you and I had, a couple of years ago. I think this might have been maybe 2011, and you was telling me we're gonna get to a point where we're not gonna need CDs or jump drives. Everything's gonna be online. We're just literally gonna get all of our music, all of our videos, everything online. There'll be no need to really even go in the stores anymore. And I was like, nah, I don't think we still want to go in the stores. We don't want to do this and that. And now we're in this situation with COVID. And I'm like, yeah, he was right. He was already right about the music. And now it's it's being more prevalent now that we are in this space. Where do you see the next change? I know you mentioned VR and what you've seen in there, but where do you see the next change specifically with music? Where is music going to next? What do you see?
I think the next really big change in music is going to be how publishing works with the blockchain. That's going to completely change everything. So publishing and royalties and all those things are moving toward the blockchain, which should make that whole process more effective, which means that artists are likely going to seek new ways to get revenue, probably chasing placements. You're going to see a lot more people entering the music business from the perspective of, I just do music for movies. There's already a huge community of people doing that, but I see that community increasing with blockchain really being established, because there's going to be a consistent way to generate revenue. And so all those artists that are flexing like they got it, that don't really got it, are going to find a way to really get it. And they're going to give up on the flex and say, I'm going to commit myself to this career, because in that lane, it's really a career choice. It's, hey, I know X amount of music supervisors. I reach out to them, find out what projects are going on. I submit for their projects, blah, blah, blah. I music supervise the project. We just did a deal, for a film. I got a gag order on it, so I can't talk about it. But that's where the money is. We're in that space right now. That's where the money is. So I see that. Two, I see more artists just creating a career off of, hey, I make $100,000 a year being a music artist, and that's great for me.
Wow. Yeah.
I really foresee that. And that's going to be for the artists that decide to be more business oriented. If you think about how Tech9 and his team runs, they've been independent for a long time. That methodology and mentality, I see that being reciprocated through a lot of underground artists. That's already happening now. I just see that increasing as time goes forward. And I also see artists starting to build their own products in the future. I think products are going to be huge. I also think sales funnels, quote me on this, I think sales funnels are going to be bigger in entertainment in the future. Because entertainment is going to start using more techniques in order to generate sales for products and different things of that nature. So I definitely see that being bigger. Touring is already up. We talked about that a long time ago. That's already here. But I would sit on those type of things for right now, because streaming is indefinitely going to be where we are for a while. Another big change is going to be name recognition and focusing on the branding of titles, because we're no longer going to be looking at an artist's library or looking at their repertoire of records. We're not going to be looking at that anymore. We're going to be looking at, or we're going to be communicating with devices that allow us to say what we want to hear. That's the future, us reaching out to these devices and saying, hey, play this song, which means singles are going to be more popular. You're going to have to know the name of the song. So the titles are going to be important. The way you structure the title in the song is going to have to be more important. The algorithms are going to be God,
Facts, yeah.
You're going to be pulling up your phone, looking through, the discography anymore. You're just going to say, hey, play Jay-Z. And if you want to hear a certain song, you have to know the name of the song, the album the song was on, blah, 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 just to get the song to play. And then afterward, it's going to play another song that got nothing to do with Jay.
Nothing to do with Jay. That's true.
So, yeah, man, branding of individual records and individual artist names, I think that's going to become way more popular with us moving to our audio.
So I like one of the points that you made, and I never thought about it that way. And when you said Tech Nine, I was like, oh man, you're right. That, you know, artists being able to have a salary, $100,000 a year salary, that's a salary. You know what I mean? Like, do you think that they'll start to unionize if they go to that route? Like, they're gonna put me like,
I would be ingenious. I think artists would line up to get $100,000 a year. I think there's artists that are whatever the rate is. Like, if you can come to an artist and say, hey, I see your value is this. I'm going to sign you for 3 years. I'm going to pay you $1 million per year for 3 years. And I'm going to retain X amount of everything that you do and blah, 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 blah.
Right.
You'll get your whatever back afterward. I honestly think that's a smart decision for artists, because what artists don't really realize is that you don't make all that money that you see. Okay, I made 20 bands a show, but 20 bands after you pay out everybody, you know, you're blessed to walk away with 40% of what you did. And that's just
Facts.
How business works. You know, I said this before in another video. If you open up a restaurant and someone pays $20 a plate, you don't keep all $20. You got to pay the waiter, you got to pay the bartender, you got to pay for your liquor license, your electricity, blah, blah. Everyone got bills. So what I typically had seen in the game when I was out there on the road and working with different artists is that an artist would make 60 bands, then go blow 60 bands in the strip club the same night. Which was crazy because you could have comped the dollars. And you didn't have to even throw your own money. You didn't throw in the strip club's money the whole night. But no, they wanted the respect of, yo, no, this is my money. I'm throwing my money, and they got the respect, and it gave them a lot of power in a lot of ways when they came back through those circuits and through those channels, getting their records played and breaking the music. I mean, there's a system to that. But blow 60 bands when really you didn't make 60 bands. Right? You made like 22 bands that night. So you just went $38,000 in debt in one night, right? And if you're doing that night after night, I mean, so it catches up. Yeah, man, it's just there's a lot that goes to that, to all of that.
Yeah, and I can definitely see that, man. Like another thing you hit on was algorithms. I look at algorithms now, and I look at how YouTube's like been like, man, just messing people over in their algorithms right now. I happen to check out New Rockstar's video just a couple of minutes ago, and they just put out how like their YouTube streams are been messed with, and they're not able to get the money that they're getting because the algorithms are changing. So we know if YouTube is messing with their algorithms. We already know that all the other streams are messing with theirs as well. Do you think that? Do you believe that the people, since they're listening to music more, the algorithms are going to have to kind of more like bend more to the will of the user? Because I know how you just said like how we're just going to get to the point where you just got to be able to like say a song. So singles are going to be big, right? And it kind of, I can kind of see the idea of people just naming out songs rather than have the playlist that is generated by the algorithm just to pop up. Do you think that people will be able to have more of an effect on how these algorithms are being placed upon their lives? Or do you think that, tech companies are just going to wise up and get, much smarter with these algorithms and literally try their best to maintain their hold on it?
Yeah, so the whole algorithm game is all about maintaining users, right? So let me bring the tech hat on, all right? So, I used to work with Google, all right?
Right.
A year and a half. All right, so on the cloud computing side, on the other end, all right? Every time someone plays a record, it's streaming off a platform. Right now, when you go to YouTube, you listen to the record, it's playing the first 30 seconds or the first whatever percentage plays off of flash storage, which is really expensive storage, SSD storage, right? The rest of the video, if you pay attention, you can go to YouTube right now, click the video, watch the bar go, whoop, And then afterward, it will slowly buffer from there. That first bit loads from flash, the rest of it loads from tape. All right. So an organization like Google or Amazon or Microsoft, organizations that own massive server farms, can easily do whatever they want to do from a storage perspective, and they have a lot of control over price because they're reselling these resources. So in short, look at it like this. I have a house, I have an electric bill. My electric bill is a bill, but I've somehow figured out a way to resell my electricity. I put solar panels on my house, I'm reselling my electricity to someone else, and now I'm making money off of what used to be a bill. Right? Mm-hmm. That's what these guys are doing, right? Whereas an organization like Spotify or Tidal, right? They're paying the bill they're paying a fee for every user, every time that user streams to Google, to Amazon, to Microsoft, right? So every time you stream, for however long you stream, they're charged per gigabyte, which, you know, a song is compressed multiple times, blah, blah, blah. It's really small, whatever. But you got millions of people streaming at the same time. They get a usage bill, just like the more you use your electricity, the more it costs. So the more users they get, the more people using their electricity, the more it costs them. All right. And in order to offset the cost, they have to have more users that are willing to pay versus free users. And they have to be able to get adequate ads to supplement the free users.
The free users, right.
In addition to that scenario, they have a split with the publishing companies, and they have a radio-like split, to whereas they're only retaining about 30% of the money that they're already gaining in the first place. So not only do they have a huge bill to their cloud provider, but they also are only getting 30% of the revenue that they generate. All right. All of this adds up to a couple things. One, the more users these platforms get, the less they have to pay artists, because otherwise they can't afford to sustain. Right. Two, they have to be hyper sensitive to the needs of their audience. Right now, the American public, or not just the American public, but the Western public as a whole, loves the idea of seeing their values recycled. This is why when you go to Instagram, if you like a bunch of pictures of girls shaking their butts, Instagram's going to show you 1 million girls shaking their butts. If you like a bunch of pictures from Fox News, Instagram will show you 1 million more clips from Fox News, right? Because now we are very self-indulgent, and we love to see our views recycled and our interests recycled on command. We're now getting to the point where even though we complain, hey, I was talking and then I saw an ad, but at this point, we are now at the point where, hey, I saw that one thing. I liked it, I was interested, but I won't buy it now. It'll come back up later. And when it doesn't come back up later, we're upset.
So upset.
I'm waiting for that thing to come back. I was going to buy it. Right? Expectation, right? As long as we continue down that train of thought, the algorithms are going to continue to fine tune toward that train of thought. If the public shifts views and says, I'm tired of regurgitating ideas, I want to get content that's different, and I like to see opposing ideas, then maybe when you look for Fox News, now you get CNN. Maybe when you look for girls shaking their butts, now you see professional women in whatever industry, right? They show you both, right? Now, there's an argument that these organizations have a responsibility to show both sides. However, whenever they've attempted to do so in those experimental environments, people continue to click on what's important to them. And they know that the more I keep your clicks, the longer I keep your attention.
The longer you keep your attention. That's facts. Because I was just having that same conversation with one of our frat brothers, and we were basically saying that because of the algorithms and it's trying to get you to stay on task, you know, if these tech companies were to try to like change your not necessarily change your view, but give you that opposing view to it, that would be more considered to be propaganda, because people would look at it like, oh, you're infringing upon my rights You're taking away my feelings and attitudes towards what I want to see, and I don't want to see all of that. And of course, like, people will stop being on that platform. Yeah, because they don't want to be in there and they want to hear that. Like, you know, I see that, you know, that, I mean, it's the same concept in music. Whenever an artist is been consistent with a certain type of music and then they decide to either evolve or devolve, however the user may look at it, you know, they're disinterested. They don't want to go on that journey and maybe try to see where this person is coming from. And so I look at these tech companies and I'm like, I wonder if they back themselves in a hole. I mean, they're going to make billions of dollars. I mean, but the moral code, the moral hole, like.
But what is the moral code? Because
yeah, that's true. That's true.
So at the end of the day, man, we all wake up in the morning and we decide what bias we want to agree with.
Right.
So, you know, these organizations are dealing with psychology. They're not dealing with right and wrong because they're not dealing with an action. They're dealing with thoughts.
Right.
So how can I define what thought is acceptable or unacceptable?
But wouldn't that be based off of action, though? Like, even though you're not like, you know, thoughts provoke words and words provoke actions, but actions provoke others to think. So I always believe that if you really wanted someone to change their way of thinking, right, you have to present it to them. You have to show them, you know, what it is, what it looks like.
What thought should be prevented, right? So if you're getting really radical, then you can say, okay, and this is America, so let's get racist or racial, right?
Right.
You have racial, right? So you have organizations like you have the white supremacist movement that exists, right? That have their own set of views and values. You could say, hey, you need to watch the views of these pro-black, anti-white individuals, right? Mm-hmm. And then you tell these pro-black, anti-white individuals that you need to watch the content from these, you know, supremacist individuals. I don't know how much value that adds if they're not in the same room and agreeing to this conversation.
True.
Right?
That's true.
So you can't force something that's unrealistic to happen online. It's also disrespectful for me to come in and tell you that the way that you think is wrong. You're not allowed to use your brain in the way that you want to use it. Now, if you hear something and you're influenced and you go out and do something, maybe I have to draw a line and recognize, all right, your words are negative at such a point that it's causing harm to others. Therefore, we must stop you. But that's the nature of people. If I want someone else to commit murder for me, I have to convince this person that it's a worthy cause and that they should do it for me and they should take the risk. And all of that is a deep psychological influence, right?
Right.
And human beings are going to do that with or without social media. So where and when does social media stop? Because if you have a thought, but you're not going to act on it, is it okay?
I mean, in certain religions, some would say no, but
is it okay to say I hate my boss, I'm going to kill my boss? But
I mean,
you can say that in just frustration. You can say that in just metaphor. Like, I'm not really going to kill my boss. I just was angry.
I'm just angry, right? You just wanted to get it out, right?
I wanted to say it. It felt good to say it, but I'm done with it. But then there's someone else that says, I'm going to kill my boss, and they really
actually do that. Yeah, they actually do that. But that's the energy.
The two?
You don't like it, from an online perspective. You can't. There's no possible way.
Let me tell you how it's happening, because I'm involved in projects with this type of bullshit right now. So what we're doing is we're saying, hey, if you go online and you say, hey, I want to kill my boss, right? The algorithm can recognize that you said that. It can trace where you work, trace the leaders there, and if it uses facial recognition across multiple cameras that are located all across the country to recognize where those individuals are. And if you come close to those individuals, the police are actually called. Like, that technology is actually out right now.
That's amazing.
Like, I'm in those conversations.
Is that like a service though? Like, it's like a service, like
it's a subscription.
Yes, what I'm thinking. Yeah, like it's almost like let me know when someone's talking about me in a negative way.
Yeah.
And if they get next to me or close to me or near me,
look up
they need to be called.
Lamada. It's all out there. It's all out there. there's and that's just one company. There's so many other platforms, and the governments are buying it. We're in Atlanta right now. Atlanta has more intelligent cameras than any other state in the country.
Oh yeah, facts.
And so you see these cameras all over the place. You wonder why. How come we don't get tickets in the mail like other states? Because they're not using them for tickets.
Nah,
they're tracking other things.
They're tracking other things. Yeah, that's something I always recognized. When I got back to Atlanta back in 2017, like coming from Virginia and being in Maryland, you know, while I was in the Navy and you know, being on those highways and byways, when you ran a red light or you thought you could run a yellow light and it flicked on you red, oh, you're going to get a letter in the mail next week. Like, there is not a beat that you can skip. I get out here to Atlanta, you know, I'm back home. I'm like, all right, let's do this. And I'm looking around, man, there's a lot of cameras around. Like, man, I got to be careful. I'm not trying to get no ticket. Man, I've ran 4 or 5 in a month. I'm like freaking out. Like, I know I'm going to get a ticket. No, I'm going to get a ticket. No ticket. To this day, no ticket. And I'm just like, I know those cameras work because you don't just put them up just to put them up.
I encourage everybody to become a member at phase6.com, PHASEVI.com. Come on over to the website, become a member, soak this game up, keep building your career. There's no other place like it online, in my opinion. Come to phase6.com, become a member, join up with the squad, and let's continue growing. So honestly, if you want to get your voice heard, if you want to get your question answered, send us a message, 404-442-4792.